Hello, I'm the Media Wiz, because one art form wasn't enough. Let's talk about Equestria Girls. Something I have not said in a very, very long time.
Oh, Equestria Girls, where to start? When I first heard of this movie, like a lot of other people, I thought it looked really bad. From the perspective of someone that was just getting into Friendship is Magic, the trailer just looked like a very generic animated teen movie, mainly because it was super transparent that Hasbro's initial intent with Equestria Girls as a toy line was to just cash in on Bratz and Monster High. But then I saw the movie and thought it was okay. Not god-awful, not anything mind-blowing, just okay. At best, it was better than I thought it would be. Back in the very early days of this channel, when I started as an MLP reviewer, I did a review of the first Equestria Girls movie, and ironically, it was also the first video on this channel to ever get removed from YouTube for copyright reasons. Then they announced they were making a second movie. At first I thought we were done with this, but I saw the movie and actually really liked it. The story was interesting, the villains were memorable, the songs I thought were better than the first movies, and they made the previous movie's villain actually have a believable redemption arc. Me and Pony Fanboy did a review of it in 2015, and then it also got taken down for copyright reasons. And then, wouldn't you know it, a third movie was announced, but it didn't get a temporary theatrical release like the other ones did. No, it just went straight to television. I thought this one was better than the first one, but not as good as Rainbow Rocks. Easily the best thing in this one is that it picks up with the human Twilight Sparkle, or Sci-Twi, after they introduced her in the last movie's after credit stinger. But everything else was just a mixed bag to me. I liked some of the songs and didn't like others. The titular friendship games felt a little rushed through the power of montage. It felt like they were just remaking elements from the first movie, namely evil Sci-Twi at the end, even though that ending was pretty damn cool. And this movie's villain just came off really bland to me. Ooh, Principal Cinch, evil perfectionist principal who pressures a student's hidden magic from another world to win a school competition. Ooh, meh. Me, Pony Fanboy, and MC Swigga reviewed this one, and out of fear of having it taken down for copyright reasons, it got uploaded to the Facebook page with the rest of them.
At first I thought Equestria Girls was just going to be a trilogy, but I was proven wrong the following year with the fourth film, Legend of Everfree.
Yeah, out of all the movies, I think I cared for this one the least, and apparently I'm not alone on that. The best thing here is Sunset and Twilight still have good characterization, Flash Century actually gets some more character outside of just being a one-dimensional love interest, and the other Humane 6 have some good moments here and there, but the plot just came off so generic, with the tired, evil businessman wants to shut down the camp to build a shopping mall or a parking lot trope. I didn't really think Gloriosa was a very interesting villain, and she had quite possibly the goofiest design of all the Equestria Girls movie villains. Yes, even more so than Sunset's demon form from the first movie. Not to mention, everyone was surprisingly forgiving of all she did by the end of the thing. Yeah, this was when they really loved handing out redemption arcs for everyone left and right with this show. And let's not even get started on Twilight's new love interest. And to think, we all gave Flash Century such a hard time. I did consider reviewing this one, but by that point, I really needed a break from Pony reviews. And it seemed like Pony Fanboy had officially taken over doing them. But hey, at least he got more out of the movie than I did.
Considering the girls now had gemstone necklaces that gave them special equestrian magical abilities, it should have been no surprise to any of us that Equestria Girls was still here to stay.
Since then, we got a handful of specials. Some I thought were really good, and others I really didn't like. A bunch of music videos, and a web series. While I liked some of the specials a lot, I appreciated this series a little bit more because it felt like Equestria Girls worked perfectly with this kind of format. A series of short vignettes depicting a slice of life between a group of friends in high school, who just so happen to have magical horse powers and fight bad guys every now and again.
And then, just as I was starting to come around and finally start liking Equestria Girls, it all ended so abruptly.
Truly, the lesson here is to not take advantage of something because it won't always last. Sure, the winter shorts they ended on were very good, but it was very apparent they wanted to can Equestria Girls as a brand because they were wrapping up Friendship is Magic. Unlike a lot of other people who were incredibly mixed on Equestria Girls when it first came out, I actually started to feel bad it was ending so abruptly. I mean, yeah, I didn't like some of the choices they may have made with this franchise, but looking back on it, I think it's aged surprisingly well, and it did more right than it did wrong.
Will I ever do any other Equestria Girls related reviews, since I really only reviewed the first 3 movies all those years ago? Maybe. We'll see. I think a lot of it kind of falls into Pony Fanboy's jurisdiction now, but I've done some MLP reviews here and there in the last few years, so it's not entirely out of the question. I mean, after all, we're going to end 2023 with a review of an Equestria Girls comic.
Like the other pony comics I've reviewed before, this comes from IDW Comics, and it was released in December 2014, just in the peak of Equestria Girls' initial success. This one coming after a movie tie-in comic for the first movie, released in 2013, which in itself followed a prequel story showing Sunset Shimmer's fall from grace, what caused her to have a falling out with Celestia, and what led to her fleeing into the human world. The movie tie-in comic is pretty good as it follows the Humane Six, how they all met, and how Sunset eventually turned them against one another before Twilight brought them back together in the first movie. Honestly, the story in this comic was pretty good, but there is one thing that confuses me. In the movie, they show that the girls met and became friends when they were younger, but they seem to be the same age as they are currently in the comic. But then we get this comic, which takes place after Rainbow Rocks, since the girls are friends with Sunset Shimmer now, and there's no Sci-Twi to be found. Last bit of note are all the reoccurring faces from other MLP comics. Editor Bobby Curnow, letterer Tom Long, colorists Heather Breckel and Lauren Perry,
Artist Tony Fleeks,
and writer Ted Anderson. If you're familiar with Brony fandom discourse, you probably know why this guy's so infamous, but long story short, he eventually got fired from IDW Comics because he slipped a cameo for an infamous anti-Brony Tumblr blogger who he was quite chummy with because they shared a lot of the same political views. My Little Pony.
So with all that setup out of the way, let's end Media Wiz 2023 with the Equestria Girls Holiday Special comic.
I'm reading this from a trade, but there are two covers that show group shots of the girls. While both of these are pretty good, I think I like this one a little bit more, mainly because I love the background color and the setting is used very effectively. The comic starts with Applejack and Sunset heading to school. Applejack talking about what she loves most about the holiday season. The snow, the cocoa, the warmth of a fireplace, and of course, family and friends. But Sunset, still feeling bad about some of the bad things she's done, says she's never really felt any of that. Even before I came here, I wasn't very close to my family, and the first few years here, well, I wasn't close to anyone. I mean, I can't blame them for not wanting to hang out with me. I did sabotage friendships and manipulate people after all. So you being alone on the holidays for all that time? Yep. Feeling bad for poor Sunset, Applejack gives her a hug, and the two part ways. But AJ has herself an idea. She whips out her phone and begins texting the other members of the Humane Six. The girls answer their phones, Pinky looking quite out of it.
Okay, even more than usual.
And it's here where we see Pinky is using one of the school library computers to post on My Stable.
My Stable. My Stable. Like a horse pun on MySpace. This comic came out in 2014, the same year I started regularly making videos, and I can safely say I don't remember anyone making a conceited effort to bring MySpace back into the public zeitgeist.
MySpace ain't coming back. NSYNC ain't coming back. The Backstreet Boys ain't coming back. Britney Spears, well, she never really left for some reason.
So after school, the girls hold a top-secret friendship meeting in the library and plan to make Sunset feel better by holding a series of slumber parties at each of their houses, the final party being held at Sweet Apple Acres. Naturally, the girls are on board with this plan.
Why, what a lovely idea. I'd love to. You know, I don't think I've ever met your family. Oh, well, they're... Ooh, me first!
That's a pretty cute way of pointing out they didn't introduce Fluttershy's family in either Friendship is Magic or Equestria Girls canon at that point. Though I think we should consider ourselves lucky. It means we're not going to have to suffer through Zephyr Breeze. No, they didn't bring him in until the web series.
So the girls put their plan into action and... Okay, best frame of the comic, right there. That's pretty fantastic. Anyway, the girls hold their first slumber party at Pinky's house.
Wait a second. This is supposed to take place after Rainbow Rocks, right? Because Sci-Twi isn't present, and all the girls are perfectly friendly with Sunset here. But they're acting like she's never been to a slumber party before, even though she was part of the slumber party in Rainbow Rocks. What?
As soon as they show up, Rainbow Dash immediately rushes over to start gaming.
Someone want to play me in Magic Drive Racer 6 Deluxe? Here, Fluttershy, try a round. Thanks, but I don't think... Come on, it'll help you relax. Thank you, but look, you can play as a fuzzy bunny with a monster truck.
I will destroy all my enemies.
This goes to show, sassy Fluttershy is best Fluttershy.
The quest? The power-ups?
The revenge? Go on. Make my day.
And now time for a cameo from good old fan favorite Maud Pie, as she brings in all 16 pizzas Pinky ordered.
Equestrian magic. It keeps you skinny as a rail after eating an amount of pizza that Papa John's would be jealous of.
So the girls take it easy and talk about how much friendship means to them, while Rarity does AJ's nails and Fluttershy brushes Dash's hair. Okay. And suddenly, Applejack gets a call from Apple Bloom, playing messenger for Granny Smith, to check in on her big sister. After Applejack tells her that things are going okay, Apple Bloom hangs up the call by calling her sister Piggly Wiggly, as AJ has to reveal that this is an embarrassing family nickname she was given since she loved rolling around in the mud with the pigs when she was little.
Uh-oh, I sense conflict.
The next day, it seems Applejack is now getting heckled at school, since everyone now knows her embarrassing nickname is Piggly Wiggly, as Apple Bloom tells them that it was posted all over My Stable by a user called Anon a Miss.
Anon a Miss. I mean, I guess you could always go dumber. Cough, smiley, cough.
Because, I mean, there's only one reason to troll. For lulz.
But still, Anon a Miss. Let's just keep going.
Applejack is clearly hurt by this, but her friends tell her that they'll have her back. As they all leave, Apple Bloom throws out the idea that Anon a Miss might really be Sunset Shimmer, since she first heard the nickname the other night, and she shares a lot of the same colors as Anon a Miss's profile picture.
Let me guess. This is going to be one of those anti-bullying stories where they don't even think about going to an adult, like the principals or the teachers or anything like that.
At the end of the day, Applejack is picked up with Rarity as they head over to her house for the next slumber party. AJ mentions that she can roll with the punches and not let the whole name-calling thing get to her, but it clearly sucks that such private, embarrassing information got out so easily. But now, it's time to put that all aside and have a good time at Rarity's slumber party. After getting Sweetie Belle to leave them be, Pinky immediately launches into scary story mode.
Okay, who's ready for ghost stories? I've got some creepy tales lined up.
Oh no, she's gonna start telling the one where she kills Rainbow Dash and turns her organs into cupcakes again, isn't she?
Thankfully, Sunset shuts that down when she mentions that they have plenty of interesting stories from Equestria to read in the journal that she still uses to write letters to Twilight. But now, the girls get the party started as Pinky, Rainbow, and Fluttershy start singing that cafeteria song from the first movie.
But uh-oh, Pinky tries to do a stage dive and ends up embarrassing herself, and Sunset caught the whole thing on film.
It seems Pinky landed in Rarity's closet of shame, as she calls it, which is a closet full of ridiculous-looking clothes that she eventually donates, but lo and behold, the other girls love it and start taking selfies.
I'm glad they're having fun and all, but I'm with Rarity on this one. A lot of these outfits just make them look like they fell into a Halloween store run by hipsters.
So after they had fun playing dress-up, Sunset writes a letter to Twilight before going to sleep.
Dear Twilight, my second slumber party with the girls, and I already feel so much closer to everyone. I haven't felt so loved, so accepted in, well, ever. I feel like I finally have a family again. Without all of you to help and support me, I'd be, well, you know what I would be. Anyway, I should get some sleep, but I wanted to let you know before I do that I love you all. Sunset Shimmer.
Aw, what a sweet, tender moment. They're going to ruin that by the next page, aren't they?
Because later that week, it seems the Anon a Miss account posted all their selfies with the caption calling them dorks.
The harshest insult they could come up with was dorks, huh? So, what, Anon a Miss is really Kevin from Ed, Edd n Eddy? That's another thing about this comic. It's gonna be one of those anti-cyberbullying stories where, because it's aimed at a younger audience, they're gonna use surprisingly tame language compared to some of the more colorful things you'd probably find on the internet.
Feeling betrayed, the girls come to the conclusion that Sunset must be Anon a Miss. I mean, I know they mentioned this earlier, but yeah, they're really trying to make that account picture look like Sunset, even though it's pretty obvious that it's not her. I mean, what would she have to gain by turning on the ones that had her back this entire time? But nevertheless, every one of the girls lash out at Sunset, ending with Fluttershy crying her eyes out.
You're not the person we thought you were. You're not our friend.
As her friends leave her, Sunset breaks down and cries, and the girls get humiliated by a bunch of embarrassing private moments, and the Humane Six are collectively laughed at by the other students. But it seems the other students soon become targets of a non-A-miss themselves, as all of them start freaking out at each other in the cafeteria.
Oh my god, you know what I just realized? This is like a PG version of the WikiLeaks episode from South Park. What, is it going to turn out that a non-A-miss is really run by some kind of evil, bitter, classroom pet hamster or something?
Sunset tries to figure out who it could be and goes to the next obvious choice, Trixie. But Trixie says that it isn't her. Well, I guess there goes my Kevin theory, I guess. She writes to Twilight about the problem, and it's revealed that it must be the Wendigos from the old Heartswarming Eve story, and... oh god! Ew. Weird-looking Wendigo human hybrid OC creatures. Does anybody else not like these designs? That's really disconcerting looking. Sunset ends up booking it out of the school when everyone turns their attention to her and declare that she must be a non-A-miss.
The internet has brainwashed these teenagers to the point where that's all they talk about when they're not on it. If only this wasn't accurate.
The girls regroup at the coffee shop from the movies, and Sunset is able to get the girls back on her side when she shows the letters that her and Twilight were writing to each other. So, it's unanimous that it's not Sunset Shimmer, but who could it possibly be? Well, in a grand M. Night Shyamalan-style twist, it was the CMCs all along!
What a twist!
Yeah, I guess it makes sense. There were some hints of them being upset at their sisters at the beginning of the comic, so they did this as an easy way to get back at them, and it got out of hand fast. Apple Bloom posted AJ's nickname, Sweetie Belle snuck in and posted the selfies while using Sunset's phone, Scootaloo posted Rainbow Dash's bad grades, although that was all done off screen, because Scootaloo pretty much had no involvement in this comic up until this point. And like you'd expect, it's wrapped up incredibly quickly and cleanly as possible, because of course the Humane Six forgive them, since they're family after all. Yeah, it's a Fast and Furious comic now. We're f***ing family, dog! Nothing stronger than family! It's all about family, and that's what's so powerful about it! And so our comic ends with Rarity and Sweetie Belle heading to the big holiday get-together at Sweet Apple Acres. It's here where they explain that they deleted the Anane-Miss account, publicly apologized, and got 6 months of detention for it. But Rarity reassures her little sister that things will be okay.
After all, we're family, and you know what I love about family? No matter how big your family is, there's always room for more.
That was the Equestria Girls Holiday Special comic, and it was... meh. It's alright. I mean, I didn't hate it, but it certainly has a fair share of issues.
Let's start with the positives. For the most part, the artwork is pretty good. There's never really any problem with coloring or characters looking off-model, especially when it comes to Pinkie Pie's more exaggerated expressions. Though, I'm still not a fan of these EQG Wendigo OC designs. I don't know, they still look odd to me.
And I also couldn't help but notice that the profile pictures on My Stable, whenever they show them, are just reused images from previous comics or straight up reused from the cover of this comic.
I also like the tutor-student relationship between Twilight and Sunset at this point in the franchise. I did like the moment with Rarity and Sweetie Belle at the end, letting us know that they did mess up badly and they're facing consequences, but they still care about them, one and the same. Moments like this make me really appreciate how they handled the sibling relationship with these two all throughout the course of the series. And this still had enough fun moments in it for it to be an entertaining holiday special, even if it is vague on what the holiday is. That's something you can get away with the ponies, since they have their own traditions and holidays. But what really brings this down a notch is the second half. When the girls are having fun together, that's when the comic shined the most. But once the plot gets going with the mystery of who this Anane-Miss is and the themes of bullying are introduced, it starts to become very muddled. It's not to say that you can't do a story about bullying or cyberbullying, it can certainly be done. I feel like this suffers in a lot of the same problems that people had with Ponyville Confidential, though there you could argue the CMC did what they did because they were misguided on what true journalistic integrity was. Here, they seemed pretty ready to throw Sunset Shimmer under the bus just because the girls wouldn't let them join in their fun. It is good they mentioned they got detention at least and weren't completely off the hook, but still, it's a pretty big part of the story, and despite all three Crusaders being a part of this, we don't even see Scootaloo or why she joined in on this. Out of the three, we at least see Sweetie Belle clearly upset that she wasn't allowed to join in the slumber party, and it's just a little annoying that the girls are so forgiving right away. Sure, they're kids and they're family, I understand that, but I still think they got more of a scolding for what they did in Ponyville Confidential. This is clearly a very awkward handling of this sort of ending, which is something a lot of fans have criticized about Anderson's writing in the past. To add to that, the continuity was just kind of weird. It's supposed to be after Rainbow Rocks, but Sunset still never had a slumber party, even though she was clearly at the slumber party with them in that movie. But still, despite all of that, I don't want to act like this comic was entirely bad. There are things to criticize, but I was never angry while reading this. If anything, this sort of falls into the same category as the first Equestria Girls comic. It has flaws, this one even more so as the story goes on in the second half, but I can't really say it was awful.
While the ending of this comic may rub readers the wrong way, I'd still prefer it over what me and Pony Fanboy had to review at the beginning of the year with Mare Duel. So, that does it for Media Wiz in 2023. I'm going to be taking a couple weeks for a break, but by the beginning of 2024, expect more Media Wiz reviews, commentaries, rants, and vlogs, as well as some podcast stuff every once in a while. Might try to experiment a little bit with that. I just wanted to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and a very special thank you to Red Ribbon Reviewers for, of course, sponsoring the content, and it's always a joy to collaborate with some other reviewers this time of year for such a good cause. And until next year, everybody, I'm the Media Wiz, because one art form wasn't enough.